Hi everyone, Assure for Life give you a warm welcome to this conference open to the public. Name it Navigating Grief Together. This is exploring the journey of acceptance. Remember that we create these spaces for the learning and reflection about the grieving process that we all have to experience during our entire life. Also, we would like to talk even the suggestions that we also give you every week or even 50 days is that you can send us or even let us your comments and also suggestions to different topics that you would like to learn or even that we would like that you would like that we talk about the grieving process or quality of life. We will be reading your comments and suggestions. Also, we would like to remember you that we previously talked about the grieving process and the different stages. And we talk about the anger, we talk about the agreements, we talk about the denial. And today we're going to talk about the acceptance during the grieving process. For that reason, we name this topic like that. Now, we would like to introduce this topic, the acceptance during the grieving process, talking about the researchers that describe the grieving process. The grieving is not only one stage or something that you have to live because you lost a loved one. It's something that you have to live during the entire life because you have some meaningful losses. That will be the loss of a couple, the loss of a job or the status that you previously have, the loss of a friendship, and also different kind of important losses that we have during our life. But today we going to introduce you to the most specific situations or stages. We previously talked about the agreements, and now we're going to talk about the acceptance. The acceptance in the grief is the final moment where we stop to suffer it at some point. For that reason, we would like to introduce the acceptance in the grief with this quote that we have for you. You can clutch the past so tightly you chest that it leaves your arms too full to embrace the present. This is one also invitation to all the attendants to see the acceptance as the new invitation to see the new life. As if previously we talked about the denial is when we can accept the new reality. And the agreement starts when we can talk about what happened and also what we're going to start to do in this new stage of life without the loved one. For that reason, the agreements introduce us to the acceptance stage. The acceptance is the final phase of the grief, but we as a company add a little bit one more, that is the re-meaning of the death. For that reason, we like to be part of that process. But in the researches, the acceptance is the final stage. Normally, the people start to complete this process with some different situations or different moments that they have to confront before. And one of that is the new reality that we have to live right now. That comes with different roles that we have to play, that sometimes we don't like it, or sometimes we are not agreed to complete or live in this new role or this new life without the loved one. The person starts slowly to see the new reality, and the person, when start to accept the death, starts to build a new life. Because without the loved one, we have to see the new life as a new opportunity to appreciate what we have right now. And that is something that we previously talked about, the grieving process, how we accept death, and at the same time that we accept the death, we accept the new life. Also, we like to talk about the acceptance, not like the moment when we just can't stop to feel the pain, or even just the moment that we can remember the loved one. Also, the acceptance is being aggrieved of the feeling of miss that person, being aggrieved of the pain, being aggrieved of the sadness that remember that loved one makes me feel. Acceptance is also recognize that you have a deep bond with that loved one, and also accept that the meaning that person had or already have in your life. Acceptance never denied the deep or the deep bond that you have with that person. The acceptance is also recognize how important it was in your life or even the life of your family or friends. For that reason, we would like to talk about the new reality and why it's difficult for some people accept or introduce to them to the acceptance stage. The acceptance in the grief, as I already told you, is acceptance that the other person is not longer with us. Is something that doesn't mean that we don't feel the pain or we don't miss them. Also, is the way that we learn to live without them, although their memory will always remain. That is the way that we can see that the acceptance introduced us to a new stage to see the life and also accepting their feelings that we have. It's normal to remember the person that we love, or even with the ones that we share our life for many years, with that nostalgic feeling, and it's normal. But remember that we can take to our memory that person with grateful and happiness, and that is possible. That is part of the acceptance stage. But happened that in many situations and for different people, the acceptance stage is difficult, and it's difficult for many reasons. For that, we bring to you some reasons that for why it's difficult to accept the loss. The first is that the way and timing of receiving the news, the way and the timing will depend of how we going to accept or even go from the denial to acceptance stage. Because if you receive the notice, or even if you receive that new in a moment that you was so stressful, or you're not thinking about that, or even it was an accident or a murder, or maybe you was in a fight or in a conflict with that person, will be difficult for you to complete this stage or introduce to yourself in this stage of acceptance in the grieving. For that reason, it's important to tell to the people in the best way, or even in the calm way, so you can also start to see if the moment where you received that news it was difficult for you. You was so stressed or feeling a lot of tension in your actual life, and that for your brain is too much information, and even for that moment you can accept, or for your brain it's difficult to accept that reality that you will not sharing more your life with your loved one, or even if it's a grief about a job that you lost, or even a partner that you lost, or a relationship that you have to break, or the other person break, will be the way that you receive this new and also this stage of your mind of how you receive that new. As I told you, the nature of the loss is other of the reasons why the people stops or stay in this stage of the grieving, because it's difficult to recognize when a person it was murdered, and that is the reason why the person is not with you anymore. And it's difficult when it is an accident. Suddenly the person is not more with you. It's difficult for the brain and also for the people try to recognize that that is a reality and you have to accept it. And that is something that we have to start to talk with a professional. And if it's difficult for you to talk about that kind of death of your loved one, it wasn't murder or suicide or even an accident. And remember that you can have the way to express the feeling if you feel guilt or if you feel that it wasn't fair, that kind of death. That help you to recognize that maybe you're are having an irrational guilt or your fear and also feel of it was unfair situation will be better if you can talk and share some different ideas and less the guilty feeling and less the unfair feeling about that death. Also, we have the mental state of the time. If you have a previous mental illness, if you previously was having or living a depressive episode, or you previously was living something difficult to live or experience at the moment when you receive the news, it's difficult to complete the grieving process in a healthy way or even with less time. Remember that if you have a previously diagnosis, you have to be supportive with different people, not only the family and friends, also with a professional person that help you with this process and also the way that you can accept this new loss. Also, other reason is that the new role or the roles you must assume are difficult for you to accept it. If the person that you lost was the one that had the economy provider role, for you will be something that comes with a lot of responsibility, and sometimes we don't feel ready to accept that kind of responsibility or roles. Sometimes it's an emotional role that asks you for a lot of time, a lot of dedication, a lot of compression for all the different people that are part of the family or the community. If you are accepting a role that is important for a community or social state, that is important to recognize that you also have the abilities and skills to accept that role, or even is valid also if you reject to accept or assume that role, but also you can discuss the kind of situations with the family members or friends or community. The difficulties in accepting the new reality will have connected or will be connected with the way that reality now sees for you and also for your family. If previously as a family you were living some kind of crisis and you now have to live a loss of one of the person or meaningful person of your family, will be difficult. But that is important to see it and realize if you are living right now that kind of situation of in your family. Knowing that reasons why it's difficult to complete or even introduce yourself or to your family to this acceptance stage of the grieving, we would like to tell you that the acceptance is the first step to move forward to the new life, and also the way you can overcome the negative situations or thought of a new way to see it, and also to accept how we can change or even create a new life with that loss. This will decrease the conflicts in your family and with your friends, because accept is also see the new opportunities or also new chances that you have. When you manage the acceptance phase, also naturally occurs something that help you to stop the fighting with yourself, with the thoughts or negative thoughts that you have, or even with the fight that you have with some members of your family that maybe you think that will resolve just thinking about the past or things that you maybe can do, or even it was not completed at the moment. Remember that we talked about that in the denial stage in previously conference. If you are in this stage, it's because you are just thinking about the past and the possibilities or different possibilities that you can have or you previously have at that moment when the person death and all when the person died, and also in that moment is the situation you have more conflicts, you start to have more conflicts with the family. Remember that acceptance is also accept the past and the death as it was, without changing in your thought or even try to make you feel guilt to your family members or even to yourself. For that reason, if you would like to know a little bit more of how we can go through the acceptance in the grieving process, we would like to introduce you with this quote. Grief is like a journey through a storm on a ship. We can't stop this storm, but we can learn to navigate through it. Keep hope alive and remember that there will always be a dawn after the darkest night. This is way that you can recognize that always before or even after the darkest night, you will see the dawn. That is the moment where you realize that that situation is not the only reality. And also the new reality is asking you to connect again with life, with the people that you love, with the passions, with your job, or even with something that connects you with something important in this life. Acceptance is the key tool for emotional well-being. The denial is the moment where you can connect all the time with this negative thought and these feelings of insufficiency, or this is so sad for me to feel it. It's so painful and I feel different feelings and emotions that make me feel so angry or fear about the death. Remember that the acceptance will give you the chance to accept all the pain, but accept all the life that you have in front of you. This is the way that we can tolerance the losses and disappointments, and also that we can accept the strength that will give you this new reality and this new chance. We need to also talk before to introduce you the role to acceptance is the not change or even confuse the concepts, because the acceptance is different to the resignation. The resignation is not is the way that we just see the death as something that will happen without the acceptance of the new life. It's just like that happened and I don't have any other option. That is not acceptance. Acceptance is the way we can see the offers or the different opportunities that we have in life. For that reason, if you are in resignation stage, it's because you are seeing the death as something that will happen in any time and is something negative. Remember that all we going to die, and die is not only a bad option or something negative that we have to go through. The death is something that we have to live, and this is the way that we can connect with life. Not only a physical death will be something also like something that change or even ends in our life. Sometimes some relationships ends because when we were in that relation, it was something that difficult us to grow up and to move up and in a better way, or even to create different projects or being a creative person, because in that relationship we were spending a lot of time and energy, and sometimes it's wasted. For that reason, when we lost something, or even when one stage of our life ends, or something or somebody dies, is the way that we can introduce to ourselves to a new reality, new projects, and new ways to see different opportunities. The road to acceptance is a road that we have to, first of all, live individually, and becomes with the self-acceptance. The self-acceptance is the way that we can see the reality as it was without the guilty feeling, and also understanding that you do what it must be. There are a lot of people that we can support as a professionals that start to say or talk about the death with that angry feeling, or without that guilty feeling that makes them feel like they miss something to do. They will like to talk with a person. They have a lot of questions. They have a lot of conflicts previously, and they would like to recognize or have that moment to see that they being forgiven for that happened, or even the things that they can complete it a life together. Self-acceptance is you when you can recognize that you did what you can at the moment, nothing more and nothing less. Being aware of the irreversibility of death, we can change that the people death, and that is a reality. If you start to accept that that is the death, if it was an accident, it was a murder, it was a suicide situation, that is the reality, and we can change it. That is the road to acceptance. We would like to the things that happen differently, and also happen a lot in the COVID pandemic time, but we can change it right now. And also we start to accept it and see different situations. Maybe the person who was idle before, and the life will be not with enough quality, or even the person who was just thinking about different situations, or the person who was previously so ill and it was wishing the death. Maybe the COVID or the pandemic give the chance to the person to have a death with situation that was needed and it was necessary. Accepting the challenge of living without the loved one. And this is mostly the first month or the first years without leaving the person, because the real grieving day is when you would like to tell to the person that something happened, but you suddenly remember that the person is not with you anymore. And that is the challenges that we have to live, and we have to accept it at the moment. But when we accept it, we have to recognize that we can introduce to the final grieving process, and it's the remaining of the death. We can take to our loved ones to, and also introduce to our life in a different way, in a spiritual way. So the challenges will be how we're going to share that important moments or meaning moments that we live, and with them in some kind of connections that we can create in a spiritual way. But about that we will talk in the next conference about the grieving process. Understanding the life goes on with our loved ones, and understanding the life goes on is not stop to being faithful, or stop to think about that person, or stop to talk about the person with the people that even didn't know them. Is understand that first that person is not sharing the life with me right now in a physical way, but I can see the life as something that I can continue, or an experience that I can continue without the person. And also is understand that all the feelings that now I am experiencing are valid, and then that kind of pain or that kind of sadness will last and will become in some new feelings like grateful and unconditional love. Starting to engage in regular activities. Remember that acceptance is also accept the reality and see for another kind of activities that you would like to do, or even that you stop it um, to do it when you realize that the person is dead. For that reason, we would like to also remember you in all the different conferences that it's important to connect with life with the activities that you previously did, or that you would like to do right now in your new life. So starting to engage with you with new activities is also look for something that you would like to learn or do right now, or if you have that previously promised with the departed loved one, you can start to do it like complete a legacy in this life. And the last one will be seeking help or support from your or network or professional network. That is something that we always tell you, like something that you can do anytime that you need it, or even anytime that you think that it's not possible for you, or is not easily, because not always we can accept the death as the other person or all the other people do. There are people that have more research in their mind and also in the way they can see the death. Sometimes we realize that it's difficult for me to talk about the death. I still having some negative thoughts and so strength feelings about the death that makes me feel so bad, or even that makes me feel that I can be that person that can accept this death or living without the person. Don't think that is not good or is silly to look for the help of your network or even a professional person that can help you during this grieving process. Knowing of this, to complete the road to acceptance, we would like to tell you that the total acceptance is or means the seeing and processing things as they are in the present. Specifically, acceptance in grief involves recognizing the reality as it is now. As is an attitude that comes from the willingness to see what it is and to live and be present in the moment and find ourselves in. Sometimes we can see the, the present is something that is happening right now, but we see ourselves like in a picture that we are in the past. We are thinking all the time in the person alive, and we can see ourselves introducing in the present. That is the big conflict to our brain to see the acceptance as a possibility, because we see the past as the new is as the unique reality, and that stops us to see the total acceptance. The total acceptance is processing everything as they are in the present without changing, without that feeling to see it in a different way. Even some people have that life dreaming that the departed loved one is in the sofa or is in the kitchen, that is not the acceptance process, it's not the acceptance stage. That is still, there's still the feeling that the person is there, is a wish, and it's not something bad, but it's also like a sign that tell you I am in the denial stage, and it is difficult for me to complete this the total acceptance. So see the present as it was, or sorry, see the present how it is. It's important to see it like this is what I have and this is what I can do. And remembering that something that happened and something that the departed loved ones did at the past is something that will never did it again, but I can complete it, or even I can see that legacy. That is being in the present and also see the future as a good way to complete something that the departed loved one will like it. Remember that all our loved ones will like to see the people that they love happy and satisfied with the life that they have. Acceptance doesn't apply or even doesn't imply that we have to feel so completed in this new reality. Doesn't mean that we have, or even that now we live without pain or without sadness. Acceptance is also recognize that we have this new sea or this new reality, and also that I can change it, and also that I can enjoy it without the departed loved one. Some people feel guilt because they start to feel happy without them, and they stay in this faithful thought that if they are not sad or they are not crying a day for them, they don't feel that they deserve to be happy without them. So stop to feel that guilt and see the faithful to that departed loved ones like I am faithful to you, being happy and enjoy the life because now I have the chance to enjoy it. And finally, we would like to talk about this grieving stage with a quote that we always like to give you, and is the longest road has its purpose. The darkest night ends with the coming morning. It's similar to the first quote because when we remember these kind of metaphoric words, when we are in the darkest moment, we have the hope that every day will be a new morning, a new dawn, and a new opportunity to see the situation that is so painful for me or difficult for me. I can resolve it and I can live it in a different way. So remember that you have the chance to create a new reality with the resource that you have, and also the resource that your family, friends will provide you with the unconditional love that you will have with them. As a conclusion, we would like to also remember you that you have, as a member, different benefits. If you are living right now a grieving process as an individual or as a family, you have the counseling sessions, psychological counseling sessions without additional charge. And also you have one for any other reason. Or if you are not a member of Assure for Life, remember that you have the different conference that we already have in our YouTube channel. You can subscribe, and also you will get the notifications every time that we add different conference. Or even if you are in the shock or denial stage of the grief, we previously have that conference in our YouTube channel. Remember that we also are in different social media websites and different channels. You can follow us through Facebook and also Instagram. Or even if you would like to be part of A Cheerful Life, you can email us or greet to the WhatsApp number that we are sharing you right now. Remember that we have upcoming conference. We talk one day about the grieving process, and other day we talk about the quality of life topics. And the upcoming conference will be on May 8th, about social participation spaces for older adults, and May 22nd, that is resigning, resigning, grieving, meaning to loss. This will be the next conference, and also is remembering you that we will talking about the quality of life, and then the grieving process will be the last grief stage. Remember that for us, a cheerful life is what we all deserve. Thank you so much for your time, and also for being part of this conference open to the public. We see you in the next conference.